Hey, hey, what is going on, crowdfunding fans? It's the brain of the mainframe, Nile Scala here with another exciting episode of Crowdfunding Comics with my special guest and friend. I shouldn't say my guest, co-host, my buddy, my pal, Mr. Billy Tucci. Billy! Happy Thursday, buddy. How we doing?
Happy Thursday, brother. I'm sitting here drawing, and I'm sitting here drawing hundreds of cherry blossoms. I think I can show a little bit of it. I don't want to give too much away.
Sneak peek.
But I'm doing a little, if you can see.
Ooh,
so I'm working on our very special San Diego Comic-Con Naughty Edition, or Bordeaux. Not Bordeaux. That's a wine. Our
your Bordeaux edition.
Yeah, our Bordeaux edition. Our what the hell is it called? What is it called in French?
Sexy edition.
It's a sexy edition. So anyway, so I'm doing that. I got it on the TV. I can see us on the TV. And I got the camera here. So the Blevins Media Center is so mobile. I have the Blevins Media Center set up in 3 different spots. I have it here at my art table, Nile.
Incredible.
I have it back there with my big computer, with my scanner and all that, all set up there. And then I have my writing desk back there, about 20 feet away. So, you know.
So you're in the multi-center.
I'm in the multi-center.
The multi-center Blevins verse.
Yes, and I hope people don't mind the mess back here.
And we just saw either a ghost.
Yeah,
you have orbs floating around.
I think it might be a little moth.
A little moth, huh? You got a little friend with you tonight.
Bye.
So, man, we got a great guest tonight, Billy.
Yes, enough about me. Yeah, the heck with this. Come on.
Come on, buddy.
Yes, we have a fantastic guest today, my friend. So everybody out there, I want to, welcome to our 26th episode to all of you crowdfunding centurions and crusaders the world over. And this episode, we bring to the table a creator who does it all. He writes, he illustrates, he colors, he letters. He has a website, and he even prints his projects and everyone else's. Mm-hmm. So, but it's all in a demonic way. So anyway, I'd like to introduce the man of the hour, Mr. Anthony Delaney of The Changeling and of Artist Express Printing. Anthony!
What's going on, Anthony?
How you guys doing?
The great
Nice to be on here.
D.
The great Mr. D. What's going on, my friend? How are we doing tonight? How was traffic today?
Oh, traffic was fun. We just got in the nick of time. I'm here, and I'm ready to do this tonight.
Awesome,
pull me out of my bubble here.
Well, thank you, pal. And congratulations on another successful Kickstarter project. You got about 24 hours left, and you're over $9,000 in pledges for The Changeling.
$58 away from 10K. Maybe we can get that for you tonight, guys. If you haven't seen it, come on, pledge away. We'll have the link in the chat. We're $58 away from 10K for Anthony Delaney.
Anthony Dee. For Anthony Dee. I want to get the camera so it's away from the away from the light. Because I got to have the light on. Because Anthony, I am multitasking, so I can draw, but because I have to draw hundreds of cherry blossoms. So if you don't mind, and you'll be getting this next week, this book.
I'm excited. I'm going to count every one of them, too, just to make sure you did all of them.
Yep, and you'll also be getting the She Ashcan edition. So,
nice.
But if I may, on a little personal note, so I'm thinking for the Ashcan edition to do the same cover stock as the sketch editions. We can do that, right?
Absolutely, we can.
Groovy. All right.
That'll make for a gorgeous book, too.
Yeah, I think so, too. We'll make it really limited. Well, they are really limited. And then this will be for my San Diego Comic-Con what the hell is it called? Boudoir edition. Boudoir edition. So anyway, so for those, I'm really familiar with you. I'm a huge fan of yours. I love you as a brother. And thank you for everything you've done for me. We Debbie and I truly appreciate it, and everyone else out there. But for those of you who do not know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. I started Artist Express back in 2014. We print for a majority of really awesome clients, both in the professional realm and those just starting out. We do everything from, doing comic books, specialty stocks, specialty projects, ash cans, everything from perfect bound books up to posters, prints, and all that jazz. And in addition to that, I also am a writer and creator of my own creator-owned project called The Changeling, which is the story about a girl that wakes up as a demon creature one day, has no idea how or why it happened, and the story is about her trying to find her humanity while she goes out and murders and eats people.
Nice.
A little well-rounded there.
That's great. When did you start writing, and did you draw a lot as a kid? Do you remember what you were drawing? What were your influences? What you were writing about? What was, it seems even the guys that don't draw full time, we all started out as artists too. Everybody wants to have that dream to be that Todd McFarlane or something,
Oh, exactly. I mean, I can remember going all the way back to like kindergarten, creating my own actual characters and worlds and stuff. I had this kind of weird thing with these characters called like Starman, and they were just like basically stars, and I would draw like faces on them and little costumes and stuff, and each one would be different. But professionally, I've been doing this probably since about, I want to say like really seriously since like 2015, and before then I've been kind of dabbling and doing stuff, but it was mostly like art shows and stuff like that, and didn't really pan out too well until I really started kind of pushing myself and kind of taking it a lot more seriously.
Yeah. I met with a couple of people this past weekend. I was at the Heroes Con, and that's a really great artist show. A lot of artists are there, and everyone comes to me and they want to draw from Marvel or DC, but you can also see their style might not necessarily be, like an Ed Bennis or, the norm of what they kind of like. They seem to have a pretty similar style. And I'm like, you know what? Be your own creator. Publish your own book. Don't style. This is your style. If they reject it, and of course, follow your dream. But there's nothing more satisfying than publishing your own work. That's how I feel.
I think for me, that's probably the best way to go. Like, I don't really have any aspirations for working for the big two or licensing my product out to anybody else. It's my baby, and I'll take it as far as I can take it. And if the story pans out and kind of finds its end, then I'll just create another character, create another world, and just kind of go from there. That's the fun part about being a independent creator, is that you have the freedoms of being able to do that kind of stuff, and you're not contractually obligated to anything, and you can really kind of flesh things out in ways that you can't while there's red tape.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, I mean, like, what inspired you, though, to get into drawing? I mean, were you drawing as a kid, as far as, I would say more on the superhero sense? Were you a Marvel kid? Were you a DC kid? Neither?
It's kind of weird. Like, I was always, like, my favorite character is Batman, but I probably read an infinite amount of Marvel comics over DC comics when I was younger. And believe it or not, like I kind of grew up in the sticks, and, like, our LCS was... a good 20 miles away. Didn't really have an opportunity to go there too often, so I'd either get books mailed in or I'd read a lot of Wizard magazines. Really, like, it's kind of funny that the biggest influences I think I've had that have been on my art career and wanting to kind of make something happen were probably Joe Madureira's run on Uncanny X-Men, Jeff Matsuda's run on X Factor, and this isn't me trying to schmooze or nothing, but I remember reading She, Witchblade, and Lady Death back in the day as well, too. Like, it was just kind of a weird thing for, like, a 10-year-old kid to be reading at the time.
Yeah, I'd say bad parenting.
Yeah, bad parenting. He was exploring.
I hear that a lot about Joe Mad. A lot of people love Joe Madureira. I mean, I think he's great. And, now he's doing video games. We should try to get him on, because he seems to have inspired so many people, Nile, Yeah,
definitely. We'll reach out to him.
He was one of the originals that was actually on Kickstarter.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He did a Battle Chasers compendium Kickstarter back in, I think, like 2016. Actually, it would have been like earlier than that. I think it was like 2015. But it was supposed to be like a collection of like the first 9 issues plus some bonus content and stuff. I didn't get in on it, unfortunately, but I know a lot of people got like original artwork, sketches, and a bunch of other cool swag with it. So good for them.
Yeah, I think he used to live out here on Long Island by me. I don't know where he is now, but we'll look into that. I think Frank Amazing will hunt him down.
Frank Amazing will hunt him down. He'll find him. Just make sure you bring your extension ladder.
Yeah. Where did you grow up, Anthony? You said you grew up in the sticks.
Yeah, I lived in a town called Coolidge. It's about 50 miles south of Phoenix. It's basically one of those towns where you kind of drive down a dirt road and get lost.
South of
Like,
Phoenix?
South of Phoenix. It's basically like smack dab in the middle of Phoenix and Tucson. Like our biggest highlight was getting a Walmart. It's that small.
Sounds like a place someone would get murdered. Like where you would
exactly. So, yeah.
No comment.
I hope your car doesn't break down.
For a very brief time, they had a hobby shop there. I think it was called the Locker Room, and they'd carry like Magic the Gathering cards and like a very limited selection of comics, and that was about all the culture that they had since they moved out. I mean, there's really not much there, so I wasn't gonna have any joy living there, so I had to move out, find my way elsewhere.
And you made it to the big city there, buddy, didn't you?
Yeah, it took long enough, but I did.
You made it. So
I'll get there when we get there.
Right. So with like all your drawing and stuff, with did you do any schooling for any of this, or are you all completely self-taught? Because I know you do everything. I mean, you're doing your roughs, your pencils, your colors.
I don't have any arts degree. Well, actually, I got a digital entertainment and game design degree, and we see how that pans out because now I make comics for a living. So that's about as far as that went. And as far as any other schooling, I mean, I think I took like a semester of art in high school, and then I didn't really take any like structured art classes. I took like another figure drawing class like in college, and that was really about it. Like everything I learned was pretty much just self-taught and learning from the other comic masters and other artistic masters that are out there.
Awesome. And not only, we keep saying that Anthony does it all, guys, but another thing that you have, and I've been seeing this as I stalk you on social media, you kind of have your own, and she's pretty well known, and Anthony, you can introduce her, but you pretty much have your own dedicated cosplayer at some of these shows.
Yeah, that's AZ Power Girl, Kara Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
She's been nothing but wonderful to work with so far. I think she kind of really encapsulates the spirit of the changeling, like in the flesh. She's great to work with. She's been a spokesmodel. She's been a cosplayer. She's been all this other stuff for other properties too. So seeing what she's done for other people, like she was Patriotica for Ron Zabala.
Mm-hmm.
She was a couple other indie characters. I just can't remember off the top of my head, but her Patriotica run was just killer, and I knew that she's been a close friend of mine for a while, and I haven't really had professional dealings with her, but I knew I had to change that soon, and get her to start doing some changeling stuff, and she was more than happy to come on board.
Yeah, I look for an Albert. They're great people, and she's been and she's still very young, but she's one of the original cosplayers, right? I mean, she's been doing it way before it was really. I mean, now it's exploded, but she's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, she's been on I think she's been really doing it professionally, I think, since 2012.
That's it?
Probably a little bit longer. I've only known her, I think, probably since then, and I think I kind of met her right when she was starting to take off, so it was probably a little bit longer than that, but she really, in that time, cosplay was a thing, and she got in with it, but I don't think it's anything like it is today. She really kind of did get in on the ground floor with all that stuff, and she's really kind of networked and really found her niche, and that's how she kind of became a household name in that whole market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, like we all said earlier, like Nile just said, you do everything. So there's when you start, right, with a page, with a sketch, how what's your process? How do you start? Do you use index cards like Doug TenNapel does? Do you what's your creative process like?
Oh God, this is where it all comes apart. Now, my creative process is rather minimal. Basically, it's kind of I don't want to say it's free thinking, but you guys wrestling fans at all?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Okay, well, usually when a wrestler gives a promo, usually they have kind of just a really generic outline, and then they kind of go with the crowd reaction. They kind of go with what works, and when they're in the ring and they're delivering the promo and they fill everything in. That's kind of how I am artistically and story-wise, just with the whole thing. Like, it's been just kind of just as it goes, like issue 5 right now. I have the rough idea of how everything's going to happen, and usually, I think a lot. My mind does not turn off, like on my way to work, because I drive in a lot of traffic. I do this, do that, and usually, as artists, we spend a lot of time alone, and I'm always kind of fleshing things out as I go along. Art-wise, really, I just kind of rough stuff out, just kind of like how anybody does, and I keep my stuff like super loose, and just kind of with whatever grid and outline I have, for the story. That's pretty much it.
Now, you came to doing like all these parts. Was that by choice, or did you like, I want to do everything? Because that's kind of insane, first of all. But like, how did it come about that you are this jack, this jack of all trades and a master of some?
It's kind of interesting how it all played out. Like, I've been printing longer than I've been doing my own comics, so that was just kind of a thing that I just kind of fell into. I was tapped to create a new division for this marketing company I was working at way back when, and they wanted to get into the comic book business, and because I had friends that would print with me, and I'd get them in, and they saw the potential in it, and then it just kind of blew up and became its own thing, and it became competitors to like Comics Press and Kablam and like all those people at the time, when there wasn't really much of that kind of competition. So by that regard, I've been printing, so I have that in my pocket already.
Mm-hmm.
And it just became a thing where I'm my own person doing all this stuff, and I don't really have like the capacity financially to really kind of hire somebody full time to do this or do that. So I just learned the trade and everything, and just kind of learn the tricks and what works, and just kind of build on it with each subsequent issue and each subsequent piece of art. And it really just kind of snowballed, and it just got to a point where you can pick my brain on anything, and then I could probably answer your question and make something work.
Nice.
And what do you now? I noticed you got. So how are you liking the iPad Pro? I know you've kind of transitioned into making that like I would say like a mobile studio.
I like the iPad Pro so much that I gave away my drafting table, and I also gave away my Cintiq knockoff desktop tablet. It's been that much of a godsend since I got it. It works like a champ. I'm able to do everything with it. And it just seems to be so much easier. It seems to make my life easier because, with as much as I have to do in a given day, with all the different steps, it just allows more freedom to, be able to work on something while I'm waiting somewhere else, outside of the house, or, sit somewhere a little bit more comfortably and get stuff done.
Awesome. I love drawing on mine, man.
Yeah, I had one, and it was it was given to me by a great friend of mine, and then I don't have it anymore. My wife took it and she won't give it back to me because she
does all the real work. So I mean, if it's gonna make her job easier,
I guess so.
Right. All right.
Or she at least has to learn to draw with it if she can keep it.
So Anthony, I gotta get into this because I've backed Changeling. I actually got introduced to it when I saw it. I backed your last Kickstarter, so the only issue I do have is issue 4. But I'd love to get into it. Really, I mean, how did this come to be?
Issue 1, actually the whole story was kind of a weird. I'm trying to think of like how to kind of explain it here. I had a friend of mine way back when who was a paranoid schizophrenic, and she wanted me to make something artistic with one of her dreams that she had one night, or like that she saw coming up. Like she kind of knew that she was doing something or going to be thinking of something crazy, and one night she kind of came to me and told me about what it was, and then I kind of fleshed it out, and that was like kind of like the rough origins of what the Changeling was. A couple years later, I was working on another project of mine called Fate, which was a book that was in like a super small circulation, different story altogether. And like 3 times that I tried to reboot and restart the story, my pages would get lost in a house fire. My pages would fly off the top of my car. Like something would always happen. It was cursed, and I always had to start over. So artistically, I was burned out with it. So I just kind of wanted to pull something off the shelf and put it out and see how it kind of works, just to kind of keep the gears flowing, so to speak. So I just kind of wrote the Changeling, as I went, drew the pages, kind of had the rough idea for the story. And back in May of 2017, I finished the first issue, and I put it out to a very small fanfare. Like I didn't really have much of a following, if any, at the time. I was more of a street artist, like just doing shows like, your first Friday art walk type thing or something like that.
Yeah.
So it really, like, things didn't really blow up until I joined a group called the Collectors Corner on Facebook. Yeah. Which is a fantastic group full of a bunch of fantastic people that have been nothing but supportive, since all this happened. And really, I think, like, for me, like, the genesis with, like, kind of where the success happened had to have been when I did a signing for my first Lady Death cover, the Necromancer edition, back in February of 2018. And since then, I kind of put my name on the map more, because the Fiends, Lady Death Fiends, like, fans are diehard.
Oh,
they love my work.
They're awesome.
They're the best.
They are. So they loved my cover, and they wanted to follow my work, and they saw I had a couple issues out, so they started buying and started collecting, and then started demanding more, and I just kind of been kept keeping up ever since.
Oh, wow. So let me ask you a question. Issue number 1, first run, how many were printed?
Of the first cover?
Of the very first one.
Well, see, like, at the time, like, I kind of print as I go. I think with that one, I probably sold at least somewhere around like 500, 600 copies.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
So that could be a really good collector's item.
Well, like, to be honest, like, if we look at longevity here, like, a lot of the stuff I'm putting out, it's been all like stuff that's been like limited to 25. Everything's been like a super short run.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson. I'm sure you guys know about the Spider-Man 300 homage covers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I did my own version a while back, and I limited it to 25, and I just thought, oh, okay, well, some people might like it. I'll probably sell, like half the run or whatever. Somebody might laugh at it. That's been my most in-demand book I think I've ever had, like, throughout the whole thing of the Changeling. I've done like multiple versions of it.
Yeah.
On the issue 5 Kickstarter, I'm retiring the book. I did like a white on white cover for the mystery envelopes. And once that's gone, no more 300 homages from me.
Now, do you want to explain that to some people that might not be familiar with it?
So there's collectors in particular that love collecting the Amazing Spider-Man 300 cover. It's the Todd McFarlane one. It's got Spider-Man in the black symbiote suit, swinging out. It got the 300 repeated in the background. I think Spawn number 300 is going to have a version of that too. So there's a lot of people that just love and are rabid and just dedicated to collecting every version that they can of that cover. Like a lot of indie guys do their version of it. I think within the Spider-Verse itself, there has to be at least 30 or 40 Spider-Man 300 homages within Marvel itself. So I mean, like, they're pretty rabid. A lot of people like showing off their covers. I think I've seen one guy on the corner that has at least like 100 and something different versions of it.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so me only putting out 25, that was a rookie mistake. I really should have done more, but it is what it is, and that became probably my most prized book out of everything.
Yeah. And the weird thing is that the original is a horrible cover. No, I'm kidding.
What a nice guy.
Who's
So
this guy? Tell Todd that.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, Anthony. So so some of our viewers, I mean, if they're not familiar with you, they're coming into the Changeling at issue 5. So where are we? We're gonna go chronologically. Just a little brief description of where are we with issue 1.
Issue 1 starts with the girl, and the girl is unnamed throughout the series. She's an amnesiac. She doesn't know who she is. It starts with her kind of waking up and kind of telling the story about, her first kill, the guilt that she felt behind it because of who it was. And it kind of explains her process of how she goes and selects her prey going forward. And it's basically a predator hunting predators type story. She goes after this. She goes after this guy that she meets online, who's rather salacious. And, where it goes from there.
In issue 2.
And then in issue 2, you see kind of the aftermath of what she does. And since the story kind of grips with how she, kind of maintains a semblance of humanity while, like eviscerating people at the same time and being lucid throughout it, the story kind of begins, or that issue begins with, her, just after everything happens and she's freaked out and the cops kind of catch up to her, and in her moment of transitioning back to her human form, so to speak, it reawakens her, and then she unfortunately does horrible things with the officers, and then escapes and tries to get out, and then she ends up kind of punch drunk and wakes up in a garbage can trying to figure out where she is and what happened. And that whole issue kind of deals with her not being able to control who she is, and unfortunately innocents and civilians get killed in the process.
You know what I'm learning here, and what I'm getting is that every one of the people we've interviewed with their stories, right? Their comments from our very first episode with Brian Polito, through the big names that people know of, from Chuck Dixon to Jimmy Palmiotti to Graham Nolan, to like new people that some people might not be familiar with. Every one of these stories that are being put out now are 10 times are better than 9 out of the 10 movies Hollywood are putting out now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. Like just this wellspring of creativity. It's really great, and it's encouraging, So I love it.
That's why Hollywood today, man. That's what they're going for. That's the best thing to do. It's like, we need a movie idea. Let's go hit the comic books.
Yeah.
I think we're just glorifying
your scripts are done.
At this point.
Yeah. And then where are we taking over to Changeling issue 3?
So 3 is where it gets nuts. Not that it hasn't already.
I love this cover.
It was that was my first all digital piece there, and it actually kind of correlates with the story too. So in issue 3, it begins with the girl in a mental institution being visited by, I want to say, an apparition of the first kill from issue 1, like her very first kill, the one that like caused her to kind of move forward and select her prey. So it visits her, while she's in this institution, and it's the apparition, kind of reveals itself for what it really is. And without giving too much away, basically what happens is that you're kind of seeing inside of her head the transition that she goes through every night, where when she falls asleep, she turns into this creature. So when she's not lucid, she turns into the demon creature. So it kind of shows the process of how that whole thing happens inside of her head. And basically it shows how she loses her power, loses her voice, loses her control, and then submits to this creature. And it ends with her in the rain, just howling out, like, "Dear God, help me." And that's how it ends.
All right. And then last but not least, issue 4.
Issue 4. I'll point out that is my Spawn number 1 homage here. So with issue 4, that one, it is a few months later after the ending of issue 3, where she wakes up and she's lost control. There's not really much of an explanation about what happens, but basically she's fully in changeling mode. Whether she's lucid or not, like the creature just has complete control over her, and she just kind of goes on this murderous rampage for months. Enough to where like nobody can contain her, nobody can find her. She's just in and out, killing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows there's a Thanksgiving Day parade where, for shits and giggles, she's having fun, with this whole thing because she can pretty much get away with it. She joins this dance troupe that ends up like in the Macy's Day Parade or something equivalent, and then she fully turns into the creature then, and then slaughters basically an entire downtown metropolis. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. It gets nuts, and then she wakes up afterwards, and the creature just mysteriously leaves her. So she's left with the guilt of all the murder that she's caused and all the evisceration. And she's human. She can't blame the fact that she's this creature, and she has to walk through basically a downtown full of blood and guts to meet her maker, so to speak. And that's where issue 4 kind of ends there, and then that's how the character for issue 5, Luciferia, is introduced.
All right. So now we're in issue 5, which is live now on Kickstarter with about 24 hours to go. I'm just gonna refresh the screen. Let's see if anyone brought you to 10K. Okay, no one did. But anywho, who knows? The night is young.
We're at 151. I'm happy.
151 backers. So now we're on issue 5. I mean, if you can't, guys, get on here. I mean, if you want to go through some of the a little synopsis of what you got going on for issue 5, and then maybe some of the artists that have contributed, why you selected that team and such like that.
Yeah, this campaign was my first time working with Dan Mendoza too, and that guy is awesome. I mean, you want to talk about an indie creator that's really busting his ass? It's definitely that guy.
Yeah, it looks freaking hot. Book looks great, and I've seen them, and the production values are incredible. I mean, you pull out all the stops, and is that due to your work with Artists Express now? Can you walk us through how you got into that? Was that through that marketing job you had? Is that how you got into it? And answer that one first, and I got a follow up. So again.
Oh, sure. Well, the first company that we worked at, where I was a manager. I worked there for a couple of years. There was kind of a difference in philosophy with the upper management, so I ended up leaving. My partner John, he was let go not too long before me. And, we both just kind of figured like, hey, we kind of see where this can be appreciated and where the value is and all this. So let's, start our own. And in October of 2014, that's when we opened our doors as Artists Express.
Nice. Yeah. And you actually did my, the She 20th anniversary comic too.
Yes, I did.
So thank you for that, brother. And then I completely forgot you did it. And then we had to redo the whole thing all over for and I'm like, wait a minute. I go onto the files. I'm like, oh, this is for Artists Express. So
I don't know if you remember too, but back in the day when I was at the other company, I think I printed your World War II art book.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah.
I did that run, and then we did a couple of your sketch covers for, I think it was Paris Comic-Con or.
Oh, yeah.
Something in Europe. So, yeah, that was me.
Thank you, buddy. They came out beautiful. So what should a creator do when trying to find a printing company? Now, of course, here's the time to pitch your own company, of course, but can you give them any advice of how to, go about or give your information out,
Well, I would say the first thing is just assess a budget. That's paramount. I think having realistic goals. I think a lot of people, when they self-publish and they start out, a lot of them out the gate, they think they need thousands upon thousands of copies, and we live in a digital age now where you don't have to have that kind of overhead starting out. Mm-hmm. I always tell people to kind of strategize and start small. If you're doing this show and you're anticipating X amount of units being sold, just get X amount of units. And then if you see success and you see, kind of where you could have done more, and do more on the next run.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the big thing now that helps a lot of the indie creators more than anything now is the variant cover market. I think if you're selling a straight book for, you know, $5 a piece or whatever, you know, you're going to have your main run books that are always going to be your loss leader. But the print cost on those, you know, like for us, you know, we're more of a boutique printer because, you know, like, you know what we do the holofoils, we do the specialty stocks, pearl, linen, all that jazz. You know, like our cost on the main run stuff, you know, is just a touch more, but, you know, we guarantee that you get the books in time. We guarantee that they're shipped to you at your show, and that they arrive in excellent quality. Now, with that said, I think that the trade-off there is just that, you know, a lot of artists, I think they need to kind of really consider variant covers and stuff that really kind of accentuates and expands your margin. And a lot of people don't really think about that too much. You know, I had a few friends that I've had to convince and tell them, like, hey, look, you know, if you're gonna survive doing this, you know, if you're making like $2 off of a $5 book and you have to sell 50 units at a show and that's all you can sell, that doesn't make your table back. That doesn't really get you in a lot of hands, and then people don't really kind of appreciate it much, you know, because it's just, you know, another book at another show.
Yeah.
So really,
now, what's the minimum printing?
We can do one book. And that's been one thing that me and my partner have been kind of going back and forth on forever, because you know, he wanted to establish kind of you know, like having a minimum run, but there's people that just kind of aren't there yet, even like with the minimums, you know, and if they're wanting to kind of shop around and get, you know, 5 of this type of cover, 5 of this type of cover and all that, you know, it just wouldn't be in the cards. So I pushed to just make sure that we can offer where if you wanted to get one book, you can get one book, and you can mix and match and all that jazz too.
Awesome.
Nice.
So like I'm sorry, go ahead, Billy.
Okay, I was going to say, what's the turnaround? What can people expect if, say, they want to get a book done by you? By the time they send you the file. Now, I know things like during the big conventions, things can get really log jammed, you know. But on a normal thing, what's the turnaround time usually for a book, say?
If you're doing like a 100-piece order, or really kind of anything around there, even like a couple 100 pieces, you know, we turn them around, you know, like on a good day, 1 to 2 days. You know, if we're, you know, log jam, so to speak, 3 days. You know, we have some redundancy now, like in our shop, where we don't just have one printer that does books. You know, we got 2 printers that one of them is actually a dedicated book maker, so it actually has, you know, the attachment and makes that happen. And then on the other one, we can run, you know, prints, we can run books, and then we have an offline bookmaker there that we do as well. So we have everything necessary to make sure that everybody gets what they need in time for a convention. And like I said, 1 to 3 days is usually kind of where we're at, plus shipping, of course.
Yeah. Right. And then, but something like a metal edition takes longer, right? If somebody wants something like that.
Yeah, like the metal stuff, our partners at Fairy Metal, they do that stuff. They work with everybody, and that's kind of not an understatement. Like they work with so many people in the industry, and you know, they have some big name clients too. So because of that, you know, like they're kind of perpetually log jammed. So turnaround times only on the metal stuff is usually kind of where, you know, we'll need a little bit more lead time with.
Nice. So aside from me and Brian, and I think you might have answered this, but who else books have you been doing them for?
A lot of other indie folks. I know we did a book a while back. It was called like Cesspool Kamikazes. That was like one of our other biggest projects. Featured a colorist Lizel Buenaventura. I think I said that right. That was one of the biggest ones that we've done. I've done print work for like J Photos. I've done print work for at a time Marat Michaels. Trying to think who else off the top of my head. I've done print work in the past for Ryan Kincaid. Just pretty much like everybody that kind of runs the circuit.
Yeah.
You know, I've done, you know, book projects or some ongoing stuff, you know, as it goes. Some people, you know, like they got friends and spots, you know, where they go elsewhere, and, you know,
right.
It is what it is. You know, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And it's done here in the United States, right?
It's all done here in the United States.
All done
with these hands.
So no worries about, I know a lot of people go to Asia to have things printed. But then basically what they say, and Jimmy Palmiotti told me, he's like, they're going to rob you. They're going to steal your property, and they're going to just start printing your books in Chinese or something.
It's entirely possible.
Or Korean. But you don't do that, right?
No. We have a very strict street date policy with our stuff. We know that the biggest foundation for what we do, it doesn't matter what kind of fancy schmancy printer we got. There's no level of trust, from the get-go, and there's no reason why we should be in business. And I think that's one of the things that I honor the most over everything. Because like you said, like I print for you, I print for Polito, and I'm fortunate because I get to know and see everything before everybody else does, and even produce it way in advance, and nothing gets told out of school, so to speak, or however that phrase goes.
Well, I got to tell you, as from personal experience, when we were doing our secret project, me and Brian. And he's like, we're going to get Anthony, to print this. And I was like, oh, yes. And the cool thing is that we, and as Brian works and, those books are done. They're already there to you. So
yeah. And the artwork's gorgeous too. Just seeing the finished thing, is just wow. Y'all knocked it out of the park. Brian Miller killed it with the colors on those too.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. So it was a great team. It was like the old team, all of us school like the old school, right, Frank?
He says yes. Frank Amazing says yes.
Frank Amazing is our producer, and he works for a major radio station in New York City. And,
nice.
And for his time off, or that he owes Nile or something a favor, he did something wrong. We get him. He comes in on his spare time every night and does things. So
yeah, he owes me about 4 years worth. So
yeah, so
I'm finally cashing in that check.
There you go.
So Frank Amazing.
Here's to Frank.
But he won't talk. But Frank won't talk, so we can't hear his voice. We just call him Frank Amazing, or Mr. Producer, or something like that.
I think I might have seen him on David Letterman one time in the background.
You all know who he is.
Yeah,
he just won't show his face.
Yeah, you would know who he is if you saw him.
You would know who he is.
But you just can't know who he is.
Yeah. So Anthony, well, I know there's some guys that are probably watching that are looking at things printed. What is the actual process? If I have a book I'm working on, how am I getting everything to you? What formats do they need to be in? What are you looking for from your customer to print their product?
Well, we work with customers with various skill sets and knowledge, and then also, with whatever limitations they have. Not everybody has Photoshop, not everybody has InDesign or Illustrator. So long as the files are explicitly labeled, like front cover, back cover, inside front cover, inside back cover, page 1, yada, yada, that makes the whole world of difference right there. Because, if I get files from a customer, usually we prefer PDFs or TIFF files. If we get JPEGs or if we get some low res stuff, we'll make it work up until a point where I can't. And usually if there's a stopgap somewhere in between production, we don't go and print your book unless I work it out with you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I look at this and I say, well, this ain't right and this ain't going to work right, can you send me it this way or that way or whatever? We do that before we even go to press. And customers, if they're looking to order, if they go on the website, any of our SKUs that we have, for comic books or prints or whatever, you can actually order on the site, and you can actually list the breakdowns. If you have variant covers, if you have this, if you have that, you can list it out, select how many pages, what type of finish, black and white, what kind of cover, and order it right then and there. And then we also take submissions through email as well too.
Oh, nice.
What's the preferred DPI for printing? And that's dots per inch, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's 300.
300 DPI is fine.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Now, do you guys work with any of these creators? Do you guys actually go in and say, have you ever looked at someone's layout and was kind of this is kind of off? And do you guys ever assist them in that? Do you have the software to, tweak any of their stuff if they're willing? Or is that kind of no, it's insulting to the customer to say your product doesn't look that great?
Oh, we have everything that we need for that. Like we have, the whole Adobe suite. We also have some, printing software that works with our machines as well too. I don't think that a customer would be offended if I was to make a suggestion to them, only because I know that they want to have the best product that they can have. Mm-hmm. And usually, I tell them it's like, I got kind of like, the eye here, as an artist printing your book versus just another guy printing your book. And usually if I see anything that like needs tweaking, 9 times out of 10, it's usually stuff where they might have like a text bubble in the bleed area, so like if we go to finish the book, it's going to cut some text off or cut something pertinent off. Usually I make them aware of it and ask them what they want to do, and then we kind of go from there. So I kind of put the ball back in their hands, and they tell me I got carte blanche, and I do what I do to make it look good. Or if they want to send a revised file, they can do that as well.
And you help them out also with the actual sizes of the files that you need, right? Like like the standard comic book size, like the print area. You tell them, okay, keep your images within 6.95 by 10 something, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I usually let them know, and then we also have like a guidelines page on our website too, which kind of shows them kind of like the dummy-proof way of kind of setting everything up too. So, like I said, there's some customers and like they're working with colorists, or they're working with somebody else that's doing the finishing on the job. Sometimes they can't get things exactly at that size, and if they don't, then I can still kind of fudge it and make it look good. Show them a proof copy, see what they think, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Because some of it's just software accessibility, and not everybody really has it.
Yeah.
I know we're here to talk about the Changeling, but Frank Amazing, could we swing by Anthony's website? Not right now, if that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, we're on it.
We're on it. We weren't just on it.
We were. We've been on it the whole time.
No, you have not.
Yeah, we've been on it the whole time.
Oh,
See, look at this. Comic books. They got paper cover, cardstock cover, sketch cover, metallic cover, pearl linen cover, holofoil covers. There's covers out my eyes. This is fantastic.
Man, can I hire you to be our hype guy?
Posters. So when you're talking posters, you're talking cardstock poster. So this is more your traditional print, right?
Yeah, like everything up to 13 inches by 19 inches.
Okay. So you do because the one question was, will you do 11 by 17 prints also?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you guys actually, I have a question, because I've seen this on quite a few Kickstarter projects that guys are actually starting to print books in 11 by 17 format.
Oh, yeah, I want to do that.
How are they bound? Are they stitched? Are they
duct tape?
Oh shit! So I'll print them off.
I don't. They are. I don't really know. I saw one soft cover version, and I've seen 2 hardcover versions.
That's probably. That'd probably be more of an offset thing, or probably a China thing. I think. Setup wise, for doing something like that, you'd have to be doing some pretty good numbers. Like on your Kickstarter. To justify the cost, because usually a project like that can be a little bit paramount in cost.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And you guys do business cards.
There's me, all my info.
There you are. There he is. I don't see your home address, but we'll post that later. I'm sure I can Google it.
That's fine.
You take care of flyers. You guys are doing art boards. Really, you are a one-stop shop printing specialty service for the creator. You guys should just put together like a crowdfunding package. Like, hey, you crowdfunding? Boom, this is everything you need.
Yeah, you can probably sell a lot.
A con package, too. Oh, you're going to a convention? Boom, this is what you need.
I'll tell you something in all honesty. We've tried that. It doesn't work.
No.
Somebody always wants to add something to it, change it, tweak it every single time. Like they do whenever you just get the package. So it just kind of made it moot.
Nice.
At times we do like monthly specials on certain products and stuff, and that's probably about where we land with all that.
Nice. All right. So now, do you happen to have maybe a book in your studio or anything that you print that you could hold up to the camera so people could see the awesome quality that you guys are producing?
Sure. Let me grab one real quick. 1 second.
I thought he'd never leave, Billy.
I know. I like that girl on the.
I'm somebody's evil twin here. Or dude, wanted me to hold up a comic book.
Yeah.
So this right here, this is what I call the Mausoleum edition of the Changeling Issue 4. I don't know if you can really kind of get the texture and the detail on there, but this is actually printed
a little
with
closer.
pearl linen cover.
To me.
A little closer so we can see the texture. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some texture right there.
Yeah, a little closer.
Yeah.
Closer.
Put your arms up, Billy.
And-
I need to see those hands.
Okay.
Hands up, young man.
That is a what do you call that? A mausoleum edition? And what is that? What
With every issue, which is something I kind of did for shits and giggles, since the first issue, I'll put out a copy. Like I wanted to do something that kind of showcased like our finest, stock configuration. So I do these mausoleum editions. They're limited to 5 copies per issue, and they're printed on this beautiful pearl linen cover.
Yes.
I sent you samples of that, Billy.
Yep.
And we sent the pearl and the pearl linen. So they're done on the pearl linen stock. It's got kind of like this canvas texture to it. They're usually knockout, gorgeous books, and 5 per issue. That's all they are, one and done.
Very cool, man.
That's great. And then you have those like you said, the linen paper. Is that the sketch cover paper?
No, this one's different. I tried for fun. I made a couple sketch covers with it, but the texture on it's a little too slick. Like it's got a coat on it, so like you can only like really paint or do something like that. You can do any line work with it. The actual sketch cover stock that we have, it's this Strathmore stock that we carry. Not pretty much generic. It's just like it's a 300 GSM sheet. So it's about as thick as we can run through our digital printer right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do for this book, and for the boudoir edition, and do maybe a black and white sketch edition of that. But forget it. I'm sorry. This is my.
Now, would you guys ever consider doing like a newsprint?
Newsprint's not something that we can really do in our environment.
Mm-hmm.
The stock's just too thin that it gets destroyed going through the rollers in the machine. Newsprint's usually something that somebody's using like an offset printer. It gets ran there, or usually like on a slightly bigger web press, but it's usually something that's more dedicated.
Yeah. Do you guys get requests? Do you get a lot of people looking like, hey, can you do newsprint, or you don't get that?
Since we're more of like on the boutique side,
yeah,
people don't really go that way. They usually go the other way. Like people actually want to see if we have thicker interior stock or stuff like that.
Anthony, you can just tell me that was a stupid question.
No, it's fine because what's it? There's that.
It's like we're boutique, bro. We're not doing newsprint. Like, are you kidding me right now? Yeah. No, what's the nicest way possible?
It's a legitimate question because there's I can't remember the name of that company, but it's the one that they just do newsprint books.
Yeah, Alterna.
Alterna. That's what it is. So like they kind of got the market for all that. So to each their own. They do their stuff with that, and I know that there's some gems that come out of that whole operation there. So, they have the niche in that market, not something that we really carry.
Yeah. Now, did you print Chad Heinrich's Yule's Vision?
Yes, we did.
You did print that, and I think you did a variant cover.
I did do a cover for it. Yes.
You did. I really liked it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for drawing that.
Yeah, I think the line art that I got to Jacob Stem is the writer. He's also like, this is kind of like how small the circle is here. The writer for Yule's Vision is the guy that does fairy metal photography. So the guy that writes that book is the guy doing all the metal printing for all the other artists out there.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Wow. They actually him and Chad actually might be really good guests for your show.
I've been hounding Chad. I know he's busy.
I'll throw a shoe at him. I mean,
yeah, throw a shoe at him. I'd love to get him on. I love the concept design of his character, and the book was great.
Yeah, they're doing a thing for Pride Month here as well. They have a limited issue variant cover for issue 1, and I think all the proceeds from that they go to the Trevor Project, which is like for at-risk LGBT youth and all that.
Yep.
Great.
So
Nice.
like they're involved in some good causes and they're really doing some good work out there.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I mean, I saw his project one day and I just did that whole like I don't know you, but I'm gonna message you, and got to know Chad a little bit. I mean, he was just like the most appreciative guy of like any feedback or anything. I mean, at least that's what I got from him through conversation. And I told him I had the show and me and I talked to Billy and we were gonna do this. He was actually one of the first people I reached out to. Was like, bro, I got to get you on. I love the design of your stuff and all that. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. But it hasn't worked out yet. So I will get him on soon. But if you do talk to him, remind him that I'm hunting him down.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, stranger danger. It's Nile.
Oh, God.
Yeah, want to go camping?
I'll send Frank Amazing on you.
Yeah. Hey,
He'll
Frank.
fly down and get you.
Yeah. So, all right, man. So, with the books and everything, how do you guys ship all these comics?
In what capacity? As a printer or as a publisher?
As a printer and as a publisher.
Well, the printer, we pack the ever-loading shit out of our boxes.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
when they get there, like they're not like, how Diamond ships, where they're standing up and, like you look at the box wrong and then like 90 of your spines are damaged.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, they're carefully. They're all shrink wraps so that way they don't rub, when they're in transport and scratch amongst themselves. They're dual boxed, so they go inside of one box that goes inside of another box. So they're dual air protected, bubble wrapped, and then also shrink wrapped inside. So they're bulletproof when they get to you. And then as for for me, I know that they have Geminis out there, which everybody's using right now, which are great for shipping like a 1 or 2, or I'm not sure how many they hold. Like I think they hold up to 4 comics.
Yeah.
But one cost saving technique I found was just taking the 8.5 by 11 brown boxes that you usually see for documents and all that stuff. I'll take those, cut them in half, and then use those as shipping boxes. Like I'll fold them flat. And what I've noticed with those, I haven't had a single damaged book ever shipped out from me in those packages. They seem to work fine. Like I know Geminis are pretty bulletproof as well, but for these, they're about like a third of the cost. But you kind of have to do a little bit more slicing and dicing, which for me, like with my backer count versus others, I can kind of take that hit in time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they also arrive to my customers bulletproof that way.
Nice. I've received when I received Changing Issue 4, I mean it was meant. It came back.
All right.
I wish I could say that about some of the other Kickstarter backed projects that I received recently. I had one where basically the book was like folded in half, so now it's just like thrown in the corner. I'm like, what the heck did I even back this for? It was like I was an afterthought. I won't say names, but I'm not.
I got one that came in an oversized bubble mailer.
That's what I got.
I thought the protective 12-point cardstock that was in there was like just a protection for the book. I guess those were actual prints. So once I realized that, there was nothing protecting this book inside of the side of the bubble mailer. And then the book didn't even have a bag and board. It was like somebody chopped like some generic cardstock and used that instead of a board.
Yeah.
So it was like literally like I pledged for this way back when. And then how it goes sometimes, if it takes so long, you just kind of forget about it. And then it shows up at your door. You're like, oh, yeah, look at this. So this happened at my office because I usually get all my mail there. As soon as I saw it and opened it up and just saw the 20+ cracks on the spine, I just threw it away,
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened to me. I was like, and it took so long to get the book. I really think it was like, oh, wow, we never shipped this to Nile. Let's just throw this in here. Let's wrap a grocery flyer around it and put his address and send it.
Oh, great.
I was like, are you kidding me? And I backed something else of theirs, and I'm a little nervous of how it's going to come. But we shall see. We shall see.
I'm rooting for you.
But on a lighter note, I mean, you mentioned you did a cover for Brian Polito, and you're starting to get to know these guys, and you're kind of all like in that circle there. I mean, how did that happen? Were you invited to? Did you ask? what transpired your cover for Mr.
You know,
Polito?
I've done printing with Brian for about 8 years now, give or take. And then recently, like, you know, we've been just doing like just a wild amount of production with him. I kind of, you know, I kind of put the bug in his ear, like, you know, however many years ago, showed him samples, all that stuff. And, you know, honestly, they sucked. You know, they didn't look good. And so naturally, like, you know, he just kind of passed on me. And then a couple years later, I was at a show in Albuquerque, and he wasn't too far from me. And just killing time in between customer orders, I did like this little cute chibi Lady Death piece, this little white 5x7 little piece. And I think Fran loved it so much that I think that unofficially might have been what might have got him to say, hey, you want to do a cover? And then that's kind of how that whole thing played out, because my art style is kind of adapted over the last couple of years into what it is now. Mm-hmm. Like one of my biggest inspirations, she's not even a comic book artist. Her name is Jasmine Griffith, and she does like a lot of that like big eye stuff that you see, like, you know, if you go to Disneyland, you know, like the Wonderground Gallery. Like, she's been like my biggest artistic influence. So since my stuff's kind of molded into that, I think Brian's a little bit more receptive to that versus what it kind of used to be, where I was just kind of emulating everybody else.
Yeah.
And so we took a chance. We did that cover, and actually, I can kind of show you the original if you want to see it.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely. I love looking at original art. So
give me 1 second.
You guys like pretzels? Pretzels.
Yeah, I try to be good too. I had some raisin
That's
bran.
cool.
Oh, nice.
Look at that. That's awesome.
So the giant 24 by 36 painting.
Ooh, that's adorable.
Wow.
Thank you.
You painted that?
I painted this, yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know you painted.
Yeah.
He paints too. Great.
Jack of all trades. You should show your crochet piece.
Oh, I'm planning on knitting a cover.
Awesome.
It's going to be awesome. It's Golden Girls themed.
There you go. That
nice.
Blanche. That Blanche.
I think I could do a sexy Blanche cover.
Right.
That reminds me, remember, in like the 30s and the 40s, now we're like, oh my God, well, geez, look at your wife's name, Nile, if I may, it's Farrah, when someone's, oh my God, I met this girl, Farrah. Everyone's like, oh my God, you met a girl, really? Or a girl named Jennifer. You never, all Jennifers are beautiful. Back in the 40s,
that's not true.
Back in the 40s, like, hey, did you check out the butt on Blanche?
Yeah.
Boy, that Blanche, let me tell you, that Maud, her and Maud, my God.
You see those lumps on Fran? Whoa.
Look at those bloomers.
Yeah.
There's just names that aren't used anymore.
Or like Gertrude.
Yeah, Gertrude. You're like, oh, you got that Gertrude, and her and her brother Adolf. They're coming home for dinner tonight.
Adolf.
No, I think there's a moratorium on Adolf now.
Yeah, no one. Blanche and Adolf. Boy, that sounds like a fun wedding, doesn't it?
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Oh, that's funny. So that's just taking things away.
That's just taking things away, indeed. So Anthony, let's have some fun, man. Let's have a little fun.
Oh, we haven't been already?
Yeah,
let's have a little fun. Tonight's been boring. This has been... No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. So, my friend, do you like karaoke?
Oh, yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you sing karaoke?
I've been known to do a Dio tune a time or two out in public.
Yeah, nice. You are the last in line, aren't you there, buddy?
I am. Probably one of the gypsies.
Nice.
So can you sing for us right now?
Oh.
Depends on what you want to hear.
Whatever's on the top of your head.
One day in the life of the lonely, another day on the roundabout.
Yeah.
Did they need somebody to love?
Nice.
Well, look at that, man. That is awesome.
Your monitor just peeking in the red there.
Heck yeah, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah, I do all right.
Well done.
That's fantastic. Are you going to bring some karaoke to the cons?
Seeing that you see so many people, I know you said something about the word balloons. What is the best advice you could give someone who wants to do that crowdfunded book? Since you've done several yourself, since you've seen so many other people do them, what advice would you give them? What's the main thing they should do first? Some people say, build up your social media. But if someone's preparing to do it, because like you said, people want to do it and then they get upset if they don't sell Brian Polito numbers. Doing this.
I think people just have to have a realistic expectation of what they're getting. You look at the peers that I'm in the industry with, I'm over here, touting, I'm $46 away from 10,000. And meanwhile, I got a friend that's doing a Kickstarter for 25, 30, and he's got 10 days to go. And then this guy over here, he's at 7,500. I mean, to me, it's fuck the numbers, you put out enough to get the book out, get it in people's hands. And I think that's paramount, and whatever else on top, is gravy. So with that said, I think probably the biggest thing that I've noticed, and I've kind of experienced this because I had a bit of a slump with this when issue 4 came out, is just making sure that you're at least mostly finished with the project and can finish the project before it ends. I've seen people kind of make the mistake of starting it off and then, okay, well, this money's seed money to hire writers and hire this other people. And that's how some of these Kickstarters and campaigns end up getting 2-3 years backlog because, there's some artists that kind of, put you on the lower level of the importance list. And then you're at their mercy at that point after already collecting money from everybody. Right. So that's been one of the biggest pitfalls that I've seen. Yeah. And then probably the other thing is just to offer as much variation as possible, and then to be, I want to say giving, but be willing, to okay, I have this budgeted here. This is going to cost this much. This is how much I'm going to make on this project. Afterwards, it's it funds my, it's my fuck you money. It's I made all this money and this is what I'm going to get. Using some of that money to actually give back and invest back into the project, for stretch goals and doing all that other stuff. I think that's probably the most paramount. Because there's just a lot of people that they put it up and they're okay, I'm hoping that this book funds, and then okay, thank you, bye, and then their numbers suck. And, it is what it is. So I think really just kind of making it fun, making it an experience all the way down to the last hour of the campaign, I think is probably the most important.
Yeah. Now, what have you done? It's 3 Kickstarters you've done?
3, yeah.
3. Now, have you had any big mistakes with these though, where you're oh man, if I could tell tell you one thing not to do, just from something you experience, yourself, is there any mistakes that you've learned that you will never let that happen again?
There's kind of a couple, I want to say dumb ones. The first one is just basically reiterating the fact that you should definitely have it finished to a point before you launch it.
Yeah.
Issue 4 kind of got out of control because I had maybe 2 pages done after it funded, and unfortunately at the time I went through a breakup and a move out, so I had to deal with all that, and I didn't have time to really kind of dedicate to the project. So some personal turmoil kind of happens, and no one expects it, but when it happens, and then you can't do anything about it but go through it. So there's that. And I think it's also this stuff, and I know you guys know, it can really consume a large part of your day.
Yeah.
So if you're a family person, you don't blow them off for the campaign or for what you're doing, kind of find that happy balance. If you got to have someone help you make graphics or do this and that or whatever you need, then by all means do it, because it can be a growing process, especially when this becomes your regular thing, for distribution, which a lot of people are kind of looking at now as using Kickstarter and Indiegogo for being the regular outlets for their books.
Yeah. Now, since you mentioned Indiegogo, have you ever thought about going and ever doing a campaign on Indiegogo?
I'm kind of, it's one of those things where I'm one track minded. And right now, my bread's buttered where I'm at. So, if the wheel eventually needs to be remade, so to speak, then I'll probably look at it then.
Yeah.
But I've seen people that kind of do campaigns on both, and
Yeah.
like for the same project. That's just not for me.
Gotcha. And I mean, so if anyone who's interested and has been watching the show and tonight and they're interested in the Changeling, where can they order back issues?
Absolutely. I got a fully stocked shop. It's real easy to get to. It's just changelingshop.com. I have any variants that are still around. I have those. I have the base issues, prints, and then all that other stuff as well too.
Okay.
That's huge, don't you think? To have a shop, that's to have your ongoing shop, because if you don't have books for the particular campaign, I mean, it just makes sense to have that there. That well, I want to get issue 1, or I want to get this special, this particular print, this particular thing, and to go to that. I mean, have you seen when you launch a campaign that the activity on your shop goes up? You get more activity because it's. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. If you go to all products real quick, by the way, it should get you where you need to go. I think something might have broke there. So yeah, I think for me, or for anybody that's kind of they always say issue 1s always do the best. Oh, okay, that's acting up. I'll need to take a look at that. How embarrassing. Issue 1s always tend to do the best on a campaign, and anything that's further down the line, there's usually a little bit more trouble, because the accessibility to any back issues is a little bit harder. So anybody that's really kind of pushing anything like this, I think they need to kind of have a variation of a store as well as as their crowdfunding source as well. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna log in here and see if that's doing it on my end here.
Anthony, how do your naughty editions do for you? And usually, what's the run for those?
Oh, there we go. The naughty editions on my stuff, I usually just charge a smaller premium versus over the base ones. Now, they always tend to do really well for me. I just, believe it or not, recently I just started doing the cover patch thing, where, up there where you see the one that was up there, with the boobs out, boobs in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started doing that recently, and so far I've been finding that it kind of draws the incentive for the customer to want to buy, the whole set. So not only are you selling one book, but because, they got to have it, then they get both, and then, you make a little bit more money that way, per transaction.
Boom. Boom.
Nice.
There you go. There's the one.
Oh, that's hot. Wow. Oh, my God.
And that's Carrie Nicole, who we had mentioned earlier.
That is correct.
Dude, that is sick.
Yeah, that was my Albuquerque cover, and she nailed it. Alfred's usually the one that does the touch-ups and the photography as well. He's also a multi-talented artist as well.
Yeah, he's a fantastic artist.
Yeah, they make a great team.
Yep, they sure do. Yeah, I called him Albert. I don't know why the hell I called him Albert before. I'm tired.
He looks like an Alvin. I'll give you that.
No, I called him Albert.
Albert.
I think, maybe not. Hopefully I didn't. Hopefully I said, this weekend I have a show, and it'll be my 5th show in 6 weeks. And I'll be doing a show next weekend, which will be my 6th show in 7 weeks. And then it's all for San Diego and to start on the She the Returner. So I'm looking forward to sleeping a normal hours. My kids are in their last week of school too. We start school late here, and out late. Yeah. So your kids aren't in school yet, Nile. So
no, they've got a little ways to go.
Yeah.
They'll be 1 though in a month.
Wow.
A little ways.
Time flies. Time flies.
Time does fly. So okay, let's have some more fun with our little metalhead friend here. Somebody had said that you should have. Can you play guitar?
No, but I am getting a drum set very soon.
All right, so next time you're
Do you
on,
play drums?
A fun.
I do play drums. Yeah.
Me too.
Yep.
What kind of kit are you getting?
Really. There's a Pearl double bass set I'm looking at getting, and then probably some like a cymbal rack.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a Gibraltar cymbal rack. I've got a Pearl Export Select. I don't have double bass though, but I've got the Tama double bass pedal. And I love Pearl products. I think they're the best. And I got a Pearl Masters kit too, but I don't have the hardware, just the drums.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those Tama kick pedals too are awesome. And then
Best.
yeah,
Can we do a
especially-
show and I will interview you guys and I'll be on the back of bongos, but every time you have to play like a little thing on the drums.
Oh yeah, that'll work out great.
We'll do it like the day the maybe we'll do it when the Beatles, something better than the Beatles.
What did they do?
You know,
to me?
Shout
Shout
out
out to Toll. I think they had 2 drummers.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I love that story when someone asked John Lennon if he thought that Ringo Starr was the best drummer in the world, and he said, "I wouldn't even say Ringo's the best drummer in the
Beatles.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, so we're gonna have some fun. I mean, we try to stay. Our plan, Anthony, has been to be on for 45 minutes. We always go over the hour, and we're coming in on an hour and a half with you. So, go. Just say, dude, I gotta go, guys. But now, can we have some fun with Anthony? Some fun questions.
Some more fun.
Delaney, since he grew up in the in the body hiding capital of the world, body dumping.
Well, I mean, how do you get rid of a body in the woods?
In the desert.
First, you find a guy that knows where to get a lot of lye. And go from there.
First, you find a guy named Jim who knows the other guy named Jim.
I think I'm just quoting any shit that you can probably see on Breaking Bad. Anyway.
Right.
I don't know about dumping bodies at all. I gotta say that though, out in public, just to indemnify myself. And if you want to find out, just PM me.
Just PM him. I'll tell you how to do it. So let me ask you, Anthony, do you believe in ghosts, Bigfoot, or UFOs, or all three?
I believe Ghost is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Oh, look at you.
Ghosts is awesome.
Oh, look at you throwing that in there.
Right? I gotta do it. Now, anything kind of extraterrestrial in the world, it'd be kind of foolish to think we're the only beings in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
As far as anything like, that's based here on planet Earth, I don't know. I couldn't say, without, actually seeing Bigfoot in person or Loch Ness Monster or anything that hasn't been doctored, jury's out, in my opinion.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, I mean, you got a lot of stars out there in the sky at night. Have you ever seen a UFO?
I'm in Phoenix, right? I don't see shit when I look up.
What about when you grew up?
When I grew up, yeah. No, I mean, like, you see a lot of strange stuff. And, like, even like in Phoenix, there's these, they call them like the Phoenix lights. And they're just every so often, you look up in the sky and see the lights kind of doing this number. And then they'll stay stationary over here and move over here. They make the news every so often.
Do you think
that still happens, huh?
It still happens. I know I went back as far as 25 years ago.
Yeah, I remember when it first happened. Then the mayor kind of joked about it. I don't know. You remember that when they did the press conference and he came out in an alien costume? It was back in 1997 or something. Well, what do I know? I'm in Connecticut. We're in the armpit of the state or the country.
People had a sense of humor back then, apparently.
They must have, right?
Anthony, what's after Changeling number 5? What's next for you? What's the next project? Is it Changeling number 6? You got another
number 6.
There you go. Stick with the plan. Exactly.
Yeah, I got that going. I kind of one of the things that I got out of doing when I started working on the Changeling full time was doing. I stopped doing fantasy art. So I'm looking to kind of do just a little bit more of that, do some more traditional painting. And the whole purpose of me getting the iPad Pro, it goes back, I was telling you about the travails of issue 4. I was kind of locked in my own office all the time and didn't really make time that I needed, that I probably should have, for not only for myself but anybody else I was with. And I think that kind of soured me a little bit on the whole art experience, but now, I just want to kind of find the joy in it, in between, blood and guts, I want to find the cutesy stuff on the other side too. So I just kind of my whole thing's just kind of learning and rounding out.
Oh, so you may want to draw Frank Amazing then.
If he wants to pose like a French girl, I'm all for it.
He's dressed like one right now, so I think it might work.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I don't know.
Put a cigarette in his mouth, Frank's in a coffin.
He just
No
keeps
doubt.
walking around going wee wee.
Yeah. Hey Anthony, you've worked with you've worked with some of the best. You've worked and you're friends with a lot of people. You have a lot of experience working with them, doing their books. What's the best advice you got from someone else about comics, or more importantly, crowdfunding your own books directly to the fans?
Advice on that? I have to think about that. I've been somebody that's always just kind of like seeing what works for other people and then just kind of trying it on and going from there. Like I make no secrets about it. Like probably the best advice and support and cheerleading section that I got is probably came from Brian Polito.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Such a good dude.
he really is.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the whole industry is blessed to have them in it. Brian and his wife Francisca. I mean, we really all are.
Well, and their team's incredible too. I got to spend some FaceTime with them today. Like checking out books and stuff, and like their quality assurance and the standards that they put forth. Like they're a game changer for the industry. They're why collectability isn't something that falls on the wayside. For the indie guys, because they're like the litmus test for it.
Yeah, I agree. Excellent. Yep, indeed.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
You mind if we jump into our crowdfunding call out?
I think that would be delightful.
All right. So, Anthony, as usual, what we do towards the end of the show is we do our crowdfunding call out. It's a project, when we're perusing along, something that catches our eye, we like to get out there and show. So, this one came to me via my good pal, Mr. Billy Tucci, who was perusing and came across CUCCI'S, issue number 1. So I'm going to play the video for you guys to check this out.
Nice.
Hi everybody, my name is Brent Larson, and I am the creator and writer of a new comic book series called CUCCI'S, published by Silverline Comics. It's going to be just an old-fashioned adventure story. We've got a little superhero in there, we've got a little science fiction, got quite a bit of government conspiracy type stuff, but basically it's the story of an astronaut who went up on a secret mission in the 60s, and he's back for reasons unknown, although they are known to me. And he is trying to rectify a wrong, and we're just going to follow his adventures as he tries to do that. Basically, I'm trying to answer the question, what would it be like if the CIA discovered a planet? And I know some of you are immediately saying, holy cow, I have asked myself that question all my life, to which I say, I'm happy to help you find the answers you seek. As you can see, the art, which is by Louis Chernowski and Leandro Huergo, is beautiful. I love it, and I just can't wait to share it with you, so I hope you'll check it out. Thanks.
All right, guys.
It's great.
That's CUCCI'S issue number 1. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, it takes it back. It's just kind of like your classic sci-fi comic, CIA sending a guy into space in the 60s. I mean, this is cool.
The art's fantastic.
Yeah, I love the art. I love the style of it. It really kind of has like I would say like an early mid 90s style to it, to me, in my opinion. So we got Louis, Leonardo Hugo, we Locker. $5.
He's a great creator in his own right.
Yep. Got some great, let's see, original art. Wow, original art commissions, $50. Original art page, $75.
Hey, Anthony, can I ask you a question? I'm looking at the levels here, and they don't have a lot of levels. You know what I mean? How do you feel about when it comes to stretch goals? Are you offering a lot of things like stickers and magnets and bookmarks, et cetera, et cetera. Do you like that? Or something I'm leaning towards, and I'm trying, now this is really for me because I'm thinking out loud and I'm asking people who've done these before. How do you feel about, instead of doing, if we hit 15,000, everyone gets a bookmark, to if we hit 15,000, the book goes from 48 pages to 64 pages. and we add 2 pages of story, and you just or we do a better cover. You know, we put more money into the cover. That's how I'm leaning. I'm wondering, as someone like you, do you really enjoy all the cool little like perks? You know, the little cool, you know, stickers and things, magnets and stuff like that. Or you don't care about that?
Well, I mean, like, I think it's just dependent on the project, honestly. I've seen people, you know, where they have like they offer cover upgrades and they offer stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And one thing that always kind of I would say with that is just being careful about it, because, you know, if you say, oh yeah, well, we're gonna upgrade this cover to something badass, and then say you don't fund to that level, then you're giving people something that's not as badass. You know what I mean? So like the expectation was at one level, and then you kind of fail to reach it. But I think, like, you know, in terms of tiers versus stretch goals, I just think you just have to kind of find the happy balance, because usually like the stretch goals are what kind of motivate the backers themselves to kind of share the project and get it out there. Like, it gives them all a common goal, because, you know, hey, we hit this number, then okay, we all get this. So then it kind of, like, you know, puts the ball in their court in terms of, you know, being able to market and advertise for you. And then you know, and tiers, like, I know in my last issue 4 Kickstarter, I think I got a little nuts with the tiers. Like, I think I was up on, like, you know, like Polito level stuff, you know, and it's just, you know, little old me. And, you know, the reflections there, like, I kind of saw, like, you know, like what happens when you kind of get a little overzealous. So, you know, I saw that firsthand. And then on this one, yeah, I kind of went from, I mean, shit, I had 60. And I think on this one I have like 23 or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, just kind of trying to find that magic number, I guess, is kind of where it's at. And usually it takes a project or two for you to really kind of land that, I think.
Well, let me know when you do find that, and when you do get that, because, you know, you know, it just, you want to get the books out faster, and the more of the little things, you know, the more of the special things you have for your stretch goals, the more work you got to do, the more project, you know what I mean, the more product you have to produce and pack and ship. And that's why I was thinking of, just if I could just maybe for this one stick it all with the book and just go forward with the book, you know, with it.
Just kind of really enhancing the hell out of the book.
Yeah. And adding pages. I mean, if you get, say you ask for, like, if you get good enough numbers, like, let me ask you, if you've got, say, and I don't know if you do the 2,000 print run, if you have a 2,000 print run, is there much of a difference in cost? Say it's 48 pages. Is there much of a difference in cost between 48 pages and 64? Like, how much higher does the cost go for that?
Some of that, you know, if you're looking at that avenue, I would definitely get that quoted with whoever you intend on printing with, because there's certain, like, you know, if you're going offset with that kind of stuff versus digital printing, usually whatever you can get that fits into a complete signature that they print off, that's usually the best way to go. So if they print, you know, their sheets at, you know, like your 16-page increments, then you're going to want to probably scale and upgrade your book based on 16-page increments, because then if you're having to do something where you're stuck having to, you know, like, pay for a complete 16-page signature and only needing to use 8 more pages just based on whatever you calculated, you know, for your extra page count, that could just cost you more money in the long run. So it's really just kind of a little bit of research beforehand before, you know, making that offer.
Well, great. That's just me asking you as a printer.
And each shop's different, you know, each piece of equipment's different. So it's always good to kind of, you know, like, flesh that out before you go and, you know, advertise it. I've seen some people actually, you know, move forward on that kind of stuff, and then it's like they don't realize how much the cost really is until after the fact, and then they realize their margin on whatever they offered on their campaign is just nothing. It's unfortunate, but that's why you always got to do your research.
Yeah. What is the coolest thing that you ever experienced in comics, except, you know, not aside from the show, because I know how excited you are about it, being on with Nile and I and Frank Amazing. No, I'm serious. But what's your coolest comic book experience? And what, like, the most unforgettable?
To be honest, I mean, it's going to sound kind of like, you know, cliche, but there's just too many to count. But I think, like, it's kind of like an overarching thing for me, because it's I grew up reading your book. I grew up reading Brian's books. I grew up reading, McFarlane's books, Spawn and all that. And I've done some very brief work with Todd. Otherwise I wouldn't bring him up here in the trifecta here. But aside from them, there's other names, like Matt Banning and quite a few other people that have worked at some capacity in the industry that I work with on a regular basis. And just for me, it's always going to be a trip, because I'm always going to feel like, the runt, the redheaded stepchild of this whole thing, which is pretty accurate if you look at my hair here. So just being able to kind of work with everybody on this level now, when I remember reading about going, oh shit, these guys are amazing. Back reading about y'all in Wizard magazine and stuff. It's kind of a trip, just how full circle everything is now.
Yeah.
So just being able to call some of y'all friends, and call y'all colleagues, and customers and all that stuff. It's just been great.
Well, we are all three, I'll tell you that, and the pleasure is all ours, from my end for sure. And we love you. We think you're just great, and we appreciate everything you've done for us. All these.
Likewise.
So, all right, Nile.
All
what do you
right, man. Hey guys, I think it's been a great show. It's 10:30.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Anthony, thank you for coming on. I know when I started the show, you were actually one of the guys I reached out to too. And, finally glad to have you on. And I hope you'll come on in the future with some of your other Kickstarters, whatever you decide to do, or even when you come on, because we have some how-to videos coming up, and obviously printing's going to be one. So we'd love to have you as a key player in those videos. So yeah, guys, it's been an awesome night. Anthony, how can the fans out there follow you? How can they keep up with Mr. Delaney and what he has going on?
I would say probably the best bet, if you want to keep up with everything I'm doing, is just follow my my Facebook page. It's AD Studio. It's AYEDEE Studio. So Mayhole in Korea has the regular name, so I can't use that. So follow me there. And also, I'm on Instagram. My name is Andromedamer, ANDROMEDAHMER. Kind of a Marilyn Manson play on Andromeda and Jeffrey Dahmer. And I get weird, man. So basically, those are the best outlets there, I would say.
All right, great.
Your website, once again?
It's adstudio.com, AYEDEE studio.com.
Yeah. Well, he's got the store up. You can head over to adstudio.com for the store, and don't forget artexpress.net if you're looking for comic books, posters, cards, flyers, artboards, calendars, bookmarks, personalized custom images of my face on any form of media you would like, all paid for by Anthony. Check out artexpress.net.
You're great, Anthony. Great luck to you, buddy. You'll hit that grade, no problem. And hopefully a heck of a lot more. Thank you so much. This is a great show. And if you don't mind coming on for more, just to talk about, when you're ready to ship it, Changeling, we get you on. We can talk about shipping if you don't mind. And so, of course, if you don't mind, also with the printing business, because I know there's a lot of people that want to do this. It seems every time we go on, and Thursday nights, Tuesday nights, around this time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, is big. You know what I mean? So you're always going up against, big YouTubers. But appreciate you coming on to ours and just supporting us and being our friend and just being great. And are you going to be at any shows coming up?
I don't have anything booked at the moment, but I'm going to be aggressively booking shows. Mainly, I think I always forget the name of it. New Mexico Comic Expo, like the new one that's coming out. I'll probably be there. Just gotta get my table there and all that. Nice. Santa Fe Comic Con, and really anywhere else that'll have me. I just gotta kind of get off my ass and actually start, getting shows happening.
There you go. All right,
go, man.
See you, Nile. Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much. Really, I'll be talking to you next week. And thanks for all your help and support. I really, really do. I abide by you. You're our guy. You're our printer, and we appreciate you bending over backwards for us. And I'm so honored that you'll be doing our San Diego editions. And just thanks for everything, buddy. Look forward to contributing to the Changeling tonight as soon as we get off.
Awesome.
Right on.
All
man.
right, guys.
I appreciate everything.
Thanks
Yep.
so much. Next week, we've got a great week. We are lined up for 4 shows next week, and everyone is confirmed. So keep a lookout for some promos coming your way in the next couple days. And as always, crowdfunding fans, it's been a blast. We've had a great time, but we're tired, and we're going to go to bed. Except for Anthony. He's in a different time zone. So anywho, everyone, have a great night. Anthony, stay on the line with us as we wrap this up, and we'll see you guys all on Monday.
Thanks.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram, Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.